Hello and welcome to News Central Now. I am Dakpo Adigboye. The top stories at this hour. Terrorists kidnap travelers along Maiduguri-Kano Highway in Nigeria's northeast. Governor Oti suspends Abia State Commissioner for Health for financial mismanagement allegation. African Union condoles with Malawi as the country mourns the death of Vice President Chilima and 9 others killed in plane crash. Details in a moment. We begin the news by telling you that a suspected Boko Haram terrorists have abducted scores of travelers along the Maiduguri-Kano Highway. According to Daily Trust, the insurgents abducted the passengers on Monday evening between Garin Kuturu and Manari village near the Auno along the Damaturu Highway. It was learned that the insurgents reportedly blocked the highway before forcefully abducting some passengers, while other commuters had to return to their areas respectively. Now, residents also narrated that commercial drivers took refuge in their community during the attack by bandits between Garin Kuturu and Manari villages. Now, our correspondent Umaru Kirawa now joins me on the news to further discuss this. Now, Kirawa, what is the update concerning this very unfortunate situation?
Well, the update with regard to this unfortunate situation is that peace is back, and most importantly, travelers, or rather commuters, are plying the roads peacefully. However, it has caused fear when the incidents happened on Monday, but for now, everything is fine. And just like what the governor is saying, keep saying rather, Borno State governor, and he made this statement also well known in Uka local government area, that the insurgents are just trying to take an advantage to at least create a certain of confusion, and then use cheap media publicity to create more chaos on the situation. However, security agents and intelligence information reaching me now is everything is fine, and even some communities within Maiduguri, Berishek to Damaturu, some of the communities are even unaware of the incidents. However, much needs to be done to tackle such kind of incidents, because in the last 4 days or so, similar incident happened along Maiduguri to Biu Road, where 3 people were murdered along the highway. So much needs to be done, particularly in terms of addressing this issue. But from what we are getting from the security agencies is that it is because of the repressive efforts of the military in dislodging these insurgents in their hideouts, particularly in the Sambisa forest and other shows of the Lake Chad and so on and so forth.
Now, we also understand that the insurgents blocked the entire highway in order to carry out this very unfortunate abduction. What happened to the military? Were they subdued?
Well, based on the information I heard, is that immediately, because what the military or even the community are saying is that these people are coming out to sometimes they come out to get food because of the situation they find themselves in the bush, and then the attack by the by military and so on and so forth. So basically, the military went there when fortunately the insurgents ran away. This is the information that I got. However, much needs to be done, particularly in terms of what the military is doing, is deploying the persuasive means in convincing those that are convincible and then using force to deal with those that are not willing to surrender arms to the Nigerian government.
Now, can this be seen as some sort of setback to the gains the Nigerian troops have been making, in tackling this insurgents?
Well, it will not. A single life is not enough for us to say that it's a gain or a loss. But then it's a sign that the insurgents have been weakened because they usually come out at the time when there are no securities, particularly on the route, which calls for more or increased patrols and increased deployment of police officers on the highways. But by and large, the incident is just signaling the situation of the insurgents that they are out of food stuff and then other things that they need to move life with.
All right, Umaru Kirawa, thank you so much for the update, and please stay safe.
Thank you. Stay safe.
All right. Now, civilian staff of Nigeria's Ministry of Defense in the nation's capital, Abuja, have shut down the headquarters of the ministry, protesting against alleged military brutality and harassment of civilian staff of the ministry. The protesters alleged that some of their colleagues have been brutalized to the point of death by some military colleagues. They added that the protest would continue until the Minister of Defense addresses them.
Triggered this incident is because over 2 months ago, one of our civilian personnel was brutalized by the naval officers in Lagos, Ojo town, and he died after some days. And then we are still mourning that death, and then a series of other attacks by the military on our civilian staff. Then yesterday, one of our assistant director, who is attached to Command Secondary School in Abuja in Lagos, had his students being punished by the military with military drills, putting them inside gutter. So, and when he raised the observation, the next thing was that those private soldiers now pounced on him and started beating him like a criminal. The videos have gone viral. If you check, you will see that's an assistant director, which is equivalent to almost a colonel.
The Southwest Governors Forum has reiterated its support for the establishment of state police forces to further enhance the security in the country. This was contained in a communique issued after their meeting on Monday at the Lagos State Governor's Office in Ikeja. The forum, while acknowledging the relative peace in the region, commended the collaboration between security agencies and the Amotekun Corps. The forum also elected Governor Sanwo-Olu as its chairman. Those in attendance include Governors Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, Lucky Ayedatiwa of Ondo State, Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State, Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, Ademola Adeleke of Osun State, and Abiodun Oyebanji of Ekiti State. Meantime, the Southwest Governors Forum has adopted Isewa Fun Ilewa as the official anthem for the region.
Governors adopted Isewa Fun Ilewa as the Southwest anthem going forward. Isewa Fun Ilewa as the Southwest anthem going forward. The meeting commends Federal House of Representatives and the Southwest Caucus for their effort at passing the Southwest Development Commission Bill and looks forward to its speedy passage at the Senate. The meeting commends Mr. President, Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, ECFR, the groundbreaking Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road, and also the proposed Lagos-Sokoto Road. And the meeting further encourages the federal government to rehabilitate all other federal roads in the region.
Still talking insecurity, let's head to Kaduna State, where we understand that the kidnapped parish priest of St. Thomas Catholic Church, Zamandabo community in Zango Kataf local government area, Gabriel Uka, has regained his freedom. The priest was abducted from the rectory of the church he shepherds on Sunday. The Director General of Communications, Kafancha Catholic Diocese, Gabriel Okafor, confirmed that the priest was released around 9 p.m. on Monday. He thanked everyone who worked to ensure the speedy and safe release of the priest. Gunmen from criminal gangs have killed 26 persons, including 4 police officers, and kidnapped dozens more in a raid on a village in northwestern Nigeria. This attack is part of an ongoing wave of violence plaguing the region. The incident occurred in the village of Gidon Boka, located in Kankara district of Katsina State. According to the police and local officials, the heavily armed assailants arrived on motorcycles and opened fire indiscriminately. The attackers also abducted an undisclosed amount of women and children, adding to the growing list of victims in a region increasingly terrorized by these gangs. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. The Nigerian Senate has passed the 2024 supplementary bill of 98.5 billion naira for the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA. The budget approval followed the consideration of a report by the Committee on FCT. The report was laid and presented by Senator Osita Ngwe. In his presentation, the senator who justified the 2024 FCT supplementary bill said that the money is needed to develop certain infrastructure in the federal capital.
This has recommended the sum of 98,500 million only as the FCT statutory supplementary budget for 2024. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, in considering this budget as time was of essence, the committee has worked harmoniously with the House of Representatives to present one version of the report for consideration by the Senate. On behalf of the committee, I hereby present the recommendations for the consideration of and passage of the 2024 FCT statutory supplementary appropriation bill into law.
I would like to draw the attention of the Senate to the fact that I am the highest elected office in the Federal Capital Territory, where 4 million people live. I also want to call to the attention of the Senate that though I am in the Committee of the Federal Capital Territory, whenever critical matters like budget or anything to do with the FCT is being discussed, I am never told. All I see is that it has been brought to the Senate. Sir, in the Federal Capital Territory...
No, the Civil Senator Ireti,
please, may I finish speaking?
The order you are referring to says any senator may rise, and that senator shall be prepared to move without notice a motion declaring that a contempt or breach of privilege has been committed. You have your motion. Okay, so we suspend it till tomorrow? Okay, so noted. Your point of order is in order. Sustained. Yes, Senator. Colleagues, a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Federal Capital Territory Administration's Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Capital Territory Administration's account, the total sum of 98.5 billion naira only for capital projects for the service of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for the financial year ending on the 31st day of December 2024. Third reading taken. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Federal Capital Territories Administration Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Capital Territory Administration's account, the total sum of 98,500 million for capital projects for the service of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for the financial year ending on 31st day of December 2024. Third reading taken and passed.
The Abia State Commissioner for Health, that's Dr. Ngozi Okoronkwo, has been suspended by Governor Alex Otti. She was said to have been suspended over allegations of lack of accountability and financial mismanagement. The suspension is to pave way for the investigation of allegations of gross misconduct leveled against the commissioner. The embattled commissioner was suspended indefinitely during the State Executive Council meeting on Monday. News Central's correspondent Chinwe Ogili was on the news earlier and spoke on it.
Just about an hour ago, the Commissioner for Information, Prince Okekano, issued a statement confirming the rumors that came out yesterday that the Commissioner for Health, Ngozi Okoronkwo, had been suspended from office. But a lot of us, because even the statement did not state clearly the reason for the suspension, other that it was for misconduct, or misconduct could be anything. It could be, some people had alluded to financial misappropriation or impropriety or high-handedness, a lot of things. But then that ministry has had lots of issues recently. So I think her suspension was somehow anticipated.
The Nigerian government has raised concerns about the renewed smuggling of petrol due to the recent price hike in neighboring countries. While petrol in Nigeria cost around 701 naira per litre, its average of 1,787 naira per litre in neighboring regions has led to increased smuggling over the past 2 weeks. Nigeria Customs Service Controller General Adewale Adeniyi announced in Yola that the service is collaborating with the National Security Advisor to combat this issue through Operation Wild Wind. This initiative follows the government's decision to remove the fuel subsidy to redirect funds to productive sectors, reduce foreign exchange pressures, and also diversify economic growth. Despite the price increase, Nigeria's petrol remains the cheapest in West and Central Africa. Let's move to education matters now, where the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission in Nigeria says it has concluded plans to start a campaign aimed at combating underage smoking in tertiary institutions in the country. The acting executive vice chairman of the commission, during a one-day interactive session with students from various tertiary institutions, called for review of the curriculum in primary and secondary schools to include consumer rights education, saying this will inform young citizens of their rights as consumers. Now, News Central's Joshua Imarai completes the report.
A one-day engagement with students from tertiary institutions in Nigeria. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission in Nigeria says there is a need to review the curriculum in primary and secondary schools to include consumer rights education. The acting executive vice chairman of the commission, while making this known in the nation's capital, Abuja, says that young Nigerians need to know their rights as consumers.
And we believe that it is only proper that we should educate, especially our youth, on what their rights are, on competition and consumer protection, which is what our mandate is. We intend to review, because there is already a curriculum for our secondary schools. We want to review that and update it to be up to standard and up to date, so that from the younger ages, children learn from their schools that there are some basic rights that you have. And with rights, of course, come responsibility. So we have to also harp on the responsibility that all consumers have towards service providers as well as manufacturers.
The commission announced that it will soon launch a campaign to combat underage smoking in tertiary institutions in the country.
More importantly, in the next couple of weeks, you see our presence in tertiary institutions, marketplaces, village squares, and we'll go there with experts. We are working with the anti-tobacco campaigners, of course, so they will go and lecture people on the dangers of underage smoking. And there is also the plan to have a telephone call-in free, toll-free number that you can call in if you have issues with smoking and you want to stop. So they will now lecture you on how to go about it. And all this is part of that advocacy that we are doing against underage smoking.
The Commission also reviewed that it is launching new initiatives like school-based consumer rights clubs and a yearly competition for secondary and tertiary institutions, which aims to empower students with the knowledge of their rights as consumers. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Coming up on the news, more than 10 million displaced in Sudan. We have details of this and more after now. The news continues in southern Africa, where Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera has confirmed that the wreck of a plane carrying Vice President Saulus Chilima has been found with no survivors. The Vice President and 9 others were flying within the country on Monday morning when their aircraft disappeared from the airport's radars. The plane, a military aircraft, was flying in bad weather as soldiers had been searching the Chikangawa forest overnight into the morning in an effort to find the plane. In a news briefing on Tuesday, Chakwera said the Malawi Defense Force commander informed him that the search and rescue operations has been completed and the plane was found. He said the rescue team found the aircraft completely destroyed.
And I am deeply saddened and sorry to inform you all that it has turned out to be a terrible tragedy. The search and rescue team has found the aircraft near a hill in the Chikangawa forest, and they have found it completely destroyed with no survivors, as all passengers on board were killed on impact. Words cannot describe how heartbreaking this is, and I can only imagine how much pain and anguish you all must be feeling at this time, as well as how much pain and anguish you all will be feeling in the coming days and weeks as we mourn this terrible loss. I also know that going through a terrible loss like this makes us feel helpless and lost, as death has a way of reminding us that we do not have control over so many things that affect our lives.
To discuss this, we are joined by an independent analyst, Mavuto Bamusi. Thank you for joining me. Now, what is the latest coming from Malawi?
Well, the latest so far is that the mood in Malawi is somber. It is such a sad moment for Malawians. And just a few minutes ago, the bodies of all the people that have been involved in this tragic accident have just arrived in the capital, Lilongwe. So just to indicate that this particular aircraft crash has happened approximately 400 kilometers away from the capital, Lilongwe, in the mountainous region of the northern part of Malawi. And as rightly indicated, in the forests, which are called Chikangawa. And also just to indicate that in this month of June, it is the middle of winter, and that northern part of Malawi is normally foggy, which makes visibility problematic, both when driving on the road, but also for air travel. And as we speak, different political leaders have also been issuing messages of condolences to the second lady, that is the wife of late Vice President Chilima. So generally, it is a sad moment for Malawi, but also a sad moment for the politics in Malawi.
I mean, just to also ask, is foul play being suspected here?
A number of conspiracy theories, of course, coming from social media activists and other conspiracy theorists, of course, are saying so many things. There are so many unanswered questions. So, for example, others are wondering why it took so long for the search and rescue mission to activate their operation, because this accident happened over 24 hours, and the flight was reported missing around 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday, that is yesterday. But it was only later, about 8 hours and 12 hours later, that the government machinery appeared to be rolling in terms of deploying the rescue and search mission. And secondly, upon the discovery of the area where the flight crashed, it is an area which has got villages nearby, and also there are telecommunication towers nearby. And when all these pieces are put together, many people are wondering why it took so long for the message about this incident to reach the authorities, and even for the authorities to make an announcement. The Minister of Information, as well as the Malawi Defense Force Commander, the Army Commander in Malawi, only started issuing announcements in the morning today on Tuesday. So many conspiracy theories around there. But also when you come to think of the fact that the Vice President Saulos Chilima was a serious contender to the 2025 elections. His party, the UTM, has been in a troubled alliance with the ruling party, Malawi Congress Party, of President Lazarus Chakwera. And there was also a serious corruption allegation scandal, which was linking the vice president, and the case had just been discontinued. But allegations are that this particular scandal had linkages with senior officers at State House, but also senior ranking officers in the Malawi government. So, but we are yet to see how the whole puzzle is going to come out. For now, Malawians are in mourning. The mood is somber. It is a nation in grief.
All right. Thank you so much for your time on the news, Mavuto. All right. Meanwhile, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Mahatmat, says that he is deeply saddened to learn that the search and rescue mission for the missing aircraft carrying the Vice President of Malawi and 9 other occupants was found with no survivors. He extended his condolences to the bereaved families and the government and the people of Malawi at this great national loss. Mahatmat also reiterated the African Union's solidarity with the President, Lazarus Chakwera, the government and the people of Malawi during this difficult time, with prayers for the peaceful repose of the souls of the departed. In East Africa, figures released on Tuesday by the International Organization for Migration show more than 10 million persons have been displaced within Sudan. The IOM said since the war broke out in April 2023 between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, 7.26 million persons have fled their homes, adding that 2.83 million already displaced by previous conflicts. Still ahead, jury finds Hunter Biden guilty of federal gun crimes. We have details of this and more after now. In a historic verdict, a jury found Hunter Biden guilty of federal gun charges, marking the first criminal prosecution of the child of a sitting U.S. president. Hunter Biden, son of President Joe Biden, was convicted on all three charges against him. The charges stem from his 2018 purchase of a handgun, during which he lied about his illegal drug use. Now convicted of being an illegal drug user in possession of a firearm, Hunter Biden now faces the possibility of a prison sentence. However, analysts predict that if he is incarcerated, his sentence will likely be much lighter than the 25-year maximum for the charges. The case has drawn significant attention and marks a notable moment in U.S. legal history. To discuss this, I'm joined by global affairs analyst Ejike Okpa. Thank you for joining. Now, following today's verdict, how long or how likely is Hunter Biden to serve prison time?
Well, thank you for having me. You said in your opening, chances are he may not have, he may not do time, he may get probation. The sentence may be light because this is his first time. And then, the judge has 120 days based on the sentencing guideline to make a decision. So we'll see what happens, but it's just one of those things, we've been trying to do a criminal justice reform in America. There are certain things that does not require time in jail. As you were aware, America has the highest population of incarcerated people for things that should have been, either through counseling or, non-violent crimes. But, you have overzealous prosecutors either at the county, state, or federal level, which is want to put people behind bars. And that's caused concern for both parties, Democrats and Republicans. And so hopefully, because of what is happening, the former president getting convicted, now the son of the sitting president getting convicted, maybe, we'll pull back as a nation and say, do we really have to go this route? What good does it do except to create more dissatisfaction and anger amongst people? So we'll see. But, it's a sad day in America. And but one thing you can be assured about this country is that when things like this happen, then we go back to the drawing board and see what we can do. Just like, you have a lot of minorities who get convicted for drug or something, and they're sitting there for 10, 15 years. For what? I can understand having, violent criminals convicted, but, for misrepresentation on a gun form or, using drug, that should not require somebody doing physical time.
Now, how much of an impact do you think this will have on the president's election campaign?
Well, it's like one for each side. The Republicans got their part, and the Democrats not. Of course, Hunter Biden is not to the level of the former president, but those who are going to spin this are going to spin it for whatever it is worth. But the basis for those parties, the political base for those parties, they're all already made up their mind who they're going to vote. So the thing is, the independents who are just not going to be the ones that will swing who wins and who loses are going to be the one making a decision. So I don't think it's going to, it's not going to impact, it's not going to affect Biden. Biden's still going to be on the ballot, Trump is still going to be on the ballot. Trump is going to appeal his own, and I'm sure when the sentence is done, Hunter may decide to appeal it. And, until those two people are exhausted their appeal rights, the conviction does not stand.
This, of course, is a very pivotal moment in the U.S., I call it, legal history, where the son of a sitting president is found guilty of a charge. We also have an ex-president who equally was found guilty. Now, my question to you is this: what does this reflect of the U.S. judicial system?
Well, you've heard the phrase, nobody is above the law, but sometimes we want nobody not being above the law to be just. You want it to be something that is objective and not some political, when they don't like you, they find something.
Are you suggesting the system is not just?
the system is not just American system. Is made up of human beings. I was one time a grand juror on Dallas County, and I saw how the system is flawed. In fact, that led me to write to see if it can be changed. But there are people who get rich by building prisons and seeing people locked up. So if a lot of people are not being convicted, they're not going to make money. I mean, it costs about up to $25,000 to $30,000 to have somebody incarcerated in America, and who bears that bill is the taxpayers. So and then the people who have borrowed money or created funds, to build prison yards, they want people to come. They want that feeder system to keep flowing. So American judicial system is not perfect. I mean, that's why we have an appeal process. But if you get locked up, you've lost that time. So if you don't have the money to hire the high-powered lawyers who's just going to keep shuffling papers and making some arguments and delay the process, then you become unfortunate and you get locked up. That's what happens to a lot of minorities and a lot of other people. Then years down the line, they review the case to say, you shouldn't even have been locked up. But you have lost time. You have been psychologically damaged. You've been angered. That thing doesn't come back, even if you get compensated, because there are cases where people get compensated after they've been found not to have been guilty of what they were charged. So hopefully this is sending a signal, son of a sitting president and the former president, that we need to take a critical look at our criminal justice system and some of the sentencing guidelines, especially from the federal level. That tends to be very stiff. We need to reduce it. If it's a non-violent crime, if it's just like where you should have said yes, you said no, that shouldn't lead to using taxpayers' money to prosecute a case. We just issue you a warning, put you on a probation, and then we move on.
All right, Ejike, thank you so much for your contribution on the news.
Well, thank you for having me, and you're looking well, sir.
Thank you. The labor unions in Nigeria are steadfast in their demand for a new minimum wage of 250,000 naira, rejecting the government's offers of 62,000 naira and 100,000 naira as inadequate. This impasse raises the possibility of a strike as labor advocates for a higher wage, while the government raises concerns about sustainability. The outcome of these negotiations carries significant consequences for both workers and the economy, including potential income loss, operational disruptions, economic slowdowns, and the need for government intervention. Resolving this issue will require negotiation, mediation, and compromise between all parties involved. Mukhtar Mohammed, the CEO of Asha Investment Limited, recently shared his perspective on the ability of business owners to meet the labor union's demands for the new minimum wage during an interview on the Business Edge show.
The private sector itself is having a lot of challenges based on what the decisions of government, how the decision have had a negative impact on their businesses. So that is why, as it stands now, if you insist on that new minimum wage, based on what the government is saying they should pay, the private sector will be able to afford it. But again, there will have to be what I call losses of jobs, because a lot of companies will have to downsize to be able to pay and then put in more work in more job for others, that maybe one person will be doing 3 or 4 people job, which is naturally not good for their health. So that's why the organized private sector is saying, look, labor, try to be considerate in what you want us to do, not just don't be so rigid that this is the amount that we must pay. We can decide to pay those amounts, but it might lead to job losses. For the federal government, I don't think they have any reason not to pay, because again, if you look at the extravagant lifestyles of the government thus far, 22 billion to build a vice president residence, 90 billion for Hajj operation. Political appointees are still doing the same thing they were doing last year with this year. And then you add the government telling us to tie our belt, and then you see those people that are appointed doing worse than that. So I think for political appointees, they don't have any excuse. I mean, for the government, they don't have any excuse. they need to pay. And if they want the private sector to pay, they also need to come up with policy. A situation whereby import duties are going high by the day. Today is 140, tomorrow is 148. They need to look at that. Those are part of the things that the private sector is saying. If you decide that we have to pay this minimum wage, then there must be area that the government is giving in to us. If the government refuses to do that, if we have to pay, then there may have to be job losses.
In the world of sports, Nigeria's Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Owan Eno, has demanded a detailed technical report from the Nigerian Football Federation following the Super Eagles' disappointing performance during the June FIFA World Cup qualifying campaign. The Super Eagles managed to secure only 1 point from a possible 6, following a 1-1 draw with South Africa in Uyo before losing 2-1 to Benin Republic in Abuja in their third and fourth games respectively in the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying series. These results leave the Super Eagles with a total of just 3 points from a possible 12th and 5th in Group C in their quest to qualify for the 2026 FIFA World Cup to be jointly hosted by the US, Canada and Mexico. The minister expressed his dissatisfaction, stating that the NFF must provide a comprehensive technical report explaining the reasons behind the Super Eagles' poor showing. The board of the Nigeria Premier Football League has mandated Shooting Star Sports Club of Ibadan to ensure extra security and crowd control measures at the Lekan Salami Stadium for Wednesday's match day, that's a 36th fixture against Rangers International. This measure is being put in place considering the match day 35 Oriental Derby fixture between Rangers and Ayimba at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium, where fans encroached the pitch, leading to the game being abandoned. Rangers have been fined 5 million naira for failing to provide adequate security and selling tickets way beyond the capacity of the stadium. However, they were awarded 3 points, 3 goals, and the opponents abandoned the game. On their part, Ayimba were fined 10 million naira and ordered to produce the disruptive players and club officials who sparked the fracas. NBA and Denver Nuggets superstar Nikola Jovic has secured a spot in Serbia's preliminary 16-player squad for the upcoming Paris Olympics. The announcement came from the Basketball Federation of Serbia, who unveiled the list curated by Serbian national team coach on their official website this Monday. It will be Jovic's second Olympic Games following Rio 2026, where he took home silver with the Serbian team. The 6-time NBA All-Star decided not to play for the national team in the Tokyo 2020 edition of the Games in order to rest and recover from the hectic NBA season during the pandemic. And that's a wrap on the news at this time. But before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that terrorists kidnapped travelers along the Maiduguri-Kano highway in Nigeria's northeast. Governor Alex Otti suspends Abia State Commissioner of Health for financial mismanagement allegation. We also told you that the African Union condoles with Malawi as the country mourns the death of the Vice President and 9 others killed in a plane crash. Don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live across these platforms. That's DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Dakbo at Digboy.